question is, what is truly interesting about these stories that Eric and Third Stage shares is that apart from the know-how that is included in all these cases, I think that most failure cases are related to SAP. Am I correct? Am I far off from the stats?
Yeah, that's a good question that I've gotten a lot over the years. You know, I don't have data to prove or disprove that theory or that hypothesis, but my hypothesis is maybe a little bit different. I do think that most people hear about more SAP failures than any other vendor out there, but I don't think it's necessarily because of SAP as a product or a company per se. I do give SAP my fair share of criticism as well. So I'm not simply defending SAP here, but in their defense, they're a bigger software vendor with more customers, and their customers are more likely to be bigger, well-known consumer-facing brands that people have heard of. So when they fail, you're going to hear about it more than if the $100 million mom and pop shop down the street that no one's ever heard of. If they fail, no one's going to hear about it. So SAP's customers, by definition, are more in the limelight, more visible to society. And the last thing I'd say is that SAP customers are also more likely to be a lot more complex. So they're, by definition, higher risk implementations, whether they're implementing SAP or whether they're implementing any other solution. I will say that we seem to come across a lot more troubled SAP S/4HANA implementations than we do Oracle Fusion or Microsoft D365. Although I will say, I think D365 has its fair share of failures and troubled projects. Oracle, I'm not as sure of, just because we don't see as much in that space as we do with SAP, Microsoft, Infor, Epicor, Workday, some of the other big ERP players out there. But for the most part, I think it's pretty evenly distributed. I would love to see data that gives a more accurate representation of what patterns there are or aren't in terms of failures, but I haven't seen any. So I'd love to hear the feedback from the audience as well. See what you think. Love to hear what the audience think. Do you think SAP is more likely to fail than other providers, or do you think it's a widespread problem? Or I'd love to hear what the audience thinks here too.
For sure, yeah, that would be really interesting to kind of figure out the statistics on that as well. Some good questions from the audience though today, and moving on though to our newsworthy topics of the day, we're going to start out with the growing challenge of the agentic AI sprawl.